obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse 37, 1837. Apatyanastvam swakrute hita prabho jihasasi svi sudayonujeevina yeshan chanyad bhavata padma bhujat parayanam rajasuyojita hansam.
O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today, though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us? Now, when all kings are at enmity with us.
1838. Kevayam nama rupabhyam yadubhi sah pandava bhavato darshanam rushir kana vesituhu.
As the name and fame of a particular boy is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities along with the Pandavas and Yadus will end at once.
1839. Neyam shopyate tatra yate danim padadara tatvara paraidankita bhati swalakshana vilakshitahi.
O Gadadhara, Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful, but when you leave, it will no longer be so.
1840. Ime jana pada sruta supa kosho diviruda vanandri dhudan vantoryo danteta vavikshitehi.
All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. And this is due to your glancing over them.
1841. Atha vishvesha vishvatman svishvamurte svakeshu me sneha pashi mimam chandi drudam pandushu vrishnishu.
O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, or personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Rishis.
1842. Tvai me nanya vishaya matir madur pate sukrad rati muddaya hata tanda gande vaida mudanvati.
O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flow to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else.
1843. Shri Krishna Krishna Sakha Vrushnasya Bhavini Druga Rajanya Vamsha Dahanana Pavarga Virya Govinda Godvija Suratira Avatar Yogeshwara Akhila Guru Bhagavan Namaste.
O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Rishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distress of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possesses all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you respectful obeisances.
1844 Sutta Uvacha Buddhayetham Kalapade Parinutakilodaya Mandajahasa Vaikunto Moyaneva Mayaya.
Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled, was as enchanting as his mystic power.
1845 Tambadamityupamantrya Pravishya Gajasayayam Striyascha Swapuram Yasyan Premna Ragna Nivarita.
Thus accepting the prayers of Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord subsequently informed other ladies of his departure by entering the place of Hastinapur. But upon preparing to leave, he was stopped by King Yudhishthira, who implored him lovingly.
1846 Vyasadeshware Haje Krishne Nadbhuta Karmana Prabodhita Pitir Haryen Prabodhita Pitir Hasyena Buddhita Shuchar Pitah.
King Yudhishthira, who was much aggrieved, could not be convinced despite instructions by great sages headed by Vyas and the Lord Krishna himself, the performer of Superman feats, and despite all historical evidence.
1847 Aharaja Dharmasutas Chintayan Suhadambadam Prakrutenatmana Vipra Sneha Moha Vasham Gatah.
King Yudhishthira, son of Dharma, overwhelmed by the death of his friends, was aggrieved just like a common artistic man. O sages, thus deluded by affection, he began to speak.
1848 Aho me paschita agnanam rudi rudam turatmana parakya seva dehasya bhavyo me kshonina hartaha.
King Yudhishthira said, O my Lord, I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart, which is full of ignorance, this body, which is unclemently meant for others, has killed many, many phalanxes of men.
1849 Baladvija Suanmitra Pitru Bhatru Guru Druha Name Sanyasi Ranya Moksho Yapi Varsha Yuta Yutai.
I have killed many boys, brahmanas, well-wishers, friends, parents, preceptors, and brothers. Though I live millions of years, I will not be relieved from the hell that awaits me for all these sins.
1850 Nainam Raja Prajar Burtur Dharma Yute Vido Dvisham Iti Mena Tu Bodhaya Kalpate Shashanam Vachaha.
There is no sin for a king who kills for the right cause, who is engaged in maintaining his citizens, but this in conjunction is not acceptable to me.
1851. स्त्रीणामद्दतां द्रोहों योऽसाविहोथित कर्म भृगु में हि धीर्येणार्हं कल्पो व्योपीतम्.
I have killed many friends of women, and I have thus caused enmity to such an extent that it is not possible to undo it by material welfare work.
1852. यथा पंकेन पंकाभ्यं सूरयावा सुराकृतं बुतहत्तां तथैवैकां न यज्ञोर्माष्टुर्मर्हति.
As it is not possible to filter muddy water through mud or purify a wine-stained pot with wine, it is not possible to counteract the killing of men by sacrificing animals. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Please
Krishna.
forgive my any mistakes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Oh, thank you, Srimadaji. It was very nice. And a big thank you to Devika. Thank you so much. That's nicely reading. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, sorry, Jyoti Mataji, I think you need to. Yeah, now I can do it. Yes, thank you. Hey. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse 49. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashcha Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishaki. Verse 49. Bala Dvija Suhin Mitra Pitri Bhratir Guru Druha Nameshan Nirayan Moksho Yapi Varsha Yata Yate. Bala Dvija Surin Mitra Pitre Bhratir Guru Druha Nameshan Nirayan Moksho Yapi Varsha Yata Yate. Word for word. Bala, boys. Dvija, the twice born. Surit, well-wishers. Mitra, friends. Pitri, parents. Bhratri, brothers. Guru, preceptors. Druhaha, one who has killed. Na, never. My. Shat, there shall be. Nirayat, from hell. Moksha, liberation. He, certainly. Api, although. Varsha, years. Ayuta, millions. Ayuta hai, being added. That's such a nice framing of this word. Ayuta is millions and Ayuta is being added. Varsha, युता आयुता hai. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. I have killed many boys, brahmanas, well-wishers, friends, parents, preceptors, and brothers. Though I live millions of years, I will not be relieved from the hell that awaits me for all these sins. Purport. Whenever there is a war, there is certainly a massacre of many innocent living beings, such as boys, brahmanas, and women, whose killing is considered to be the greatest of sins. They are all innocent creatures, and in all circumstances, killing of them is forbidden in the scriptures. Maharaj Yudhishthir was aware of these mass killings. Similarly, there were friends, parents, preceptors also on both sides, and all of them were killed. It was simply horrible for him to think of such killing, and therefore he was thinking of residing in hell for millions and billions of years. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanutam Se He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyo Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangham Langayate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dina Dharanam Paramanandamalam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much for being here on this Saturday evening. Once again, apologies for yesterday. Some of our speakers are traveling, so there was a little bit of issues. And also I have to be speaking again this week, as Devi Gaurangi Mataji is also away. So we are now on the verse number 49. A series of verses have started where Yudhishthira Maharaj is repenting for what has happened in the war. He's taking the responsibility of all the deaths. And we discussed a couple of days ago that he was actually willing to go to the forest and live as a hermit, live on the fruits and berries. And if he can't get anything in the forest, he was willing to go out begging, whatever he would need, just enough to survive. The rule of living in the forest is not having lots of fruits and vegetables. It's just about just enough to survive, keep the body alive. So that was Maharaj Yudhishthira's proposal to his brothers and Lord Krishna himself in there, and his mother Kunti and wife Draupadi and all the other ladies. And everyone, he was expressing his heart, opening up what he's thinking. And he was very determined to do that. And this is, we would discuss, this is the nature of a devotee. Actually, it was interesting. I was just, as I was hearing something that occurred to me just now. I'm going to go to verse number 41. What does Kunti Maharani, we have discussed this before. What is Kunti Maharani praying to the Lord? She's saying that, oh Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, oh personality of the form of the universe, please, therefore, sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Pandavas means our own son. And the Vrishnis are the Vrishnis, the Dwarkas and Lord Sri Krishna's family members. They're all family members because Kunti belonged to the other side. She was Krishna's Bhua, aunt. So what is interesting, she's actually begging the Lord to sever her ties of affection. And her son, Dharmaraj Yudhishthira, is now showing that exact mood. He wants to walk away from that place, taking the responsibility that the deaths happened because he wanted to be the king. And he was willing to give up everything that he has, which is quite unusual if we relate it from the today's day and time, now that we are in Kali Yuga. So these are all great kings, Raja Rishis. Evam parampara praptam imam Raja Rishyo viduhu sa kalina mahata. In the 4th chapter, Transcendental Knowledge, Krishna says this knowledge was passed on in Guru Parampara, in Parampara to these Raja Rishis. So these kings in the past were called Raja Rishis. They were Rishis, they're like sages. They were saints. They were not just the kings. Because what we understand and what our experience we have seen in the kings are mostly to enjoy the material wealth. Yeah, enjoy their high birth as a king. Yeah, they are not saintly, they're not interested in what is good for the citizens. Whereas these kings in the past were always very saintly. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is now proposing this, as we are discussing, and he's citing reasons as to why he thinks that he should be taking that action. In yesterday's verse, we discussed, and he's now saying, oh my Lord, I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart, which is full of ignorance. Now, this interesting is, now when someone is lamenting, actually, any sort of lamentation, complaints, negative thoughts, why is it happening? Why me? Why now? And feeling guilt, all these negative emotions are actually in mode of ignorance. It's quite interesting paradox here that Maharaj Yudhishthira is lamenting and then he's saying, see my heart which is full of ignorance, which is this body which is ultimately meant for others has killed many, many phalanxes of men. His reason for saying that his heart is in ignorance, because ignorance means here is he is being indifferent, he is being least sensitive to the people, to his own people. How many, Srila Prabhupada explains in such detail what does a Akshahani means, all these phalanxes of chariots, elephants and all that. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was saying yesterday, in yesterday's verse, As this body, Prabhupada quotes, this body is actually meant for others. So this is also again a saintly thought that says the body is actually for others. Whereas it is so difficult for anyone to realize this, because the slogan for today is just enjoy your body, just live. You only live once, all sorts of this nonsense. And there is no concept of service. Even if it is something, it is mostly for, in the mode of passion for their own name and fame. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of what is this body meant for. It's meant for eaten by dogs and jackals and maggots, in a way the body is, as Mataji was explaining yesterday, when in some of the cultures or religions, the body is left, in a sense. Some culture put the body in the water, like river, or some leave the body in the forest for the dogs and jackals. And obviously we offer the body to the fire as a pastime. We won't go there, but how fire, Agni, was inclined to eat up the whole forest. The pastime of Lord Krishna and Arjun trying to save the Maya Danav and all that. That was interesting when I heard that the Agni was saying that I'm hungry, I need to eat. So it seemed like this offering to Agni is also is like that. So it's offered to Agni, like yajna. So one of the samskaras. So the body is meant for others. Body is meant to serve others, not just to enjoy. So we just take whatever is required to maintain the body. Atyahar, Yasascha, also in the nectar of instructions, what is unfavorable is if we put too much effort to earn, or too much effort in the activities of the materialistic life, or we eat too much and all that. They're not favorable for the devotional service. And Maharaj Yudhishthira is citing all those reasons that in theory, this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to serve everyone. And what I've done now has become responsible for so many deaths. Now he's going to be the king. He's now looking at the situation. And we also discussed that how Arjun was actually, before the war, he was in the similar situation, similar shok, vishad, similar sadness that he is going to enter into this war and he will be responsible for killing. And after the war is over, Yudhishthira Maharaj is similar. All these brothers, Pandavas, are so amazing. They have so many qualities taken from their parents. Their mother, Kunti Maharani, is also in a similar mood. Now, in today's verse, he's once again going a further detail as to who is responsible for. So these are all, Prabhupada explains, like boys and brahmanas, well-wishers. They're all meant to be, subject of protection by the king. And Prabhupada interestingly also mentions women here. Surprisingly, women also get killed in the war. So the war this massacre is inevitable. The death is inevitable in the war. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is making the statements to just reminding everyone that why he is making that decision, because killing of brahmanas is not ordinary. It's a great sin. And the Lord himself is Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmane Hitaya Cha. The Lord himself is the one who protects the brahmanas and the cows. And within the same category, the boys, the young children, and the women, they need to be protected. And he became responsible for all of their deaths. So, leadership means responsibility. Srila Prabhupada mentions in some classes that it's not that when we look at these examples, we say, oh, the king as king is almost the representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is said. Actually, it's interesting. At the beginning of the creation, Lord Brahma actually handed over the earth or the creation to the Brahmanas to maintain. But the Brahmanas are in the mood of renunciation mostly, live with minimum. So that way the society cannot flourish. So they handed over the earth to the Kshatriyas to maintain on behalf of the Brahmanas. So Kshatriyas actually, because they have the mood of chivalry and and protection. So Kshatriya means Shat Trayate iti Kshatriya. Shat means the harm, one who protects from the harm of Kshatriyas. That's another interesting aspect though. So in theory, yes, in theory, in practical, Yudhishthira Maharaj was a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya means he should be protecting. So instead of protecting, he is now thinking, what I ended up doing is killing. So this is what is going on in his mind, why it happened, because this is the human psychology. Because he was, all his life, all his existence was always about protection. He was loved so much by all the citizens. Just like also remember, like Lord Ram also, he was loved by the citizens so much that when Dasharath Maharaj announced the coronation of Lord Ram, everyone was so cheerful. They loved him. Similarly, Yudhishthira Maharaj is also loved by all the citizens. All the Pandavas were loved by the citizens because they were always so much caring to the citizens. So leadership is about responsibility. And we are all leaders. So bringing down to our level, we are all leaders, protectors in one way or the other. Every mother is looking after her child. She's a leader. Father similarly, looking after family. Everyone is responsible. So we all can relate to this, that what it could mean if we ended up being in a situation where we become responsible for the for putting any of our dependents in difficulty. So that's the nature of the rishis. And there are many such stories or pastimes in Bhagavatam that we will, as we go through, many interesting pastimes will come, where the kings take so much responsibility. At the same time, there's also the pastime, actually, what comes to mind is the king Vena. So Vena was son of King Anga, who was in the dynasty of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, son of Uttanapad, who was the son of Swayambhu Manu. So Anga was, very pious king, and he saw his son Vena in his childhood also. He was a bit cruel-minded, a lot cruel-minded. So King Anga decided to go to the forest, leave everything. These kings were so, I was saying before, they were always willing to give up their kingdom and go to the forest, perform tapasya, purification, and their mind was always in the devotional service to the Lord. So this Vena was somehow was actually Bhagavatam also explains because of the progeny, his mother Sunitha, yeah. I couldn't read much as to why. I was always wondering what was the relationship, but somehow it is mentioned that because the marriage was not appropriate. The son Vena was born, and he was so cruel to the citizens. And as Anga walked away to the forest, the Brahmanas again become responsible. This is the many examples we will say, as I was saying before. Whenever there is no king in the throne, Brahmanas take responsibility. they become responsible for maintaining the kingdom, because if there is no king, then there is no protection. If there is no protection, means that all the thieves and thugs and murderers will flourish. So this is what was happening. Anga walked away to the forest, and Vena was still a boy. So the Brahmanas then noticed that the kingdom is now being taken over by these, these negative elements, terrorists, as we call. So they approached the queen and asked her if Vena, can be made the king. So she was okay. Vena became the king. But this Vena was so cruel. Actually, he was demoniac. As he became the king, he started to behave in even more powerful way, and he was actually starting to create more difficulty in the kingdom. Under his rule, he stopped the Brahmanas from performing sacrifices. Now, every king is meant to encourage sacrifices, because as we read in 3rd chapter, sacrifices are important for the citizens to live, for the residents on this planet Earth to fulfill their requirements for the body. And they have to perform sacrifices, and then eventually all the sacrifices must be performed with the supreme personality of Godhead for everyone's purification. So this Vena stopped all the sacrifices, and then the Brahmanas realized this is becoming very difficult. Now this Vena has not only stopped the sacrifices, he is tormenting the Brahmanas. One side, he's become that he's actually become that very cruel person he should not be. And this is the mood that Yudhishthira Maharaj is showing here, that I'm the king, I'm supposed to be protecting everyone. So in that story, again, going back to Vena, then Brahmanas decided that it's going to be difficult. So they had to actually, we won't go deep into the story, but they eventually had to kill the king. They just chanted hum. They have so much power in their chanting. Vena immediately died. And they had to, then again later on the story goes on, Prithu Maharaj comes. And also there are, the kings who actually left the kingdom. They went to the forest. There are also examples like one of the other brother of Uttanapada was Priyavrat. Priyavrat also, he went to the forest for tapasya. But he had to be called back at one time because there was no one to look after the citizens. So he was called back. So he came back to the material life, became the king, just to protect the citizens. And there's also the Prachetas, another pastime in the Bhagavatam. They also went to the forest performing tapasya, and they were also called back to then take over the kingdom and protect the citizens. So the king's role was so important in those days. Yudhishthira Maharaj had the right emotion there, although it was the wrong timing. Now, as he was, presenting this mood, the brothers were actually in difficulty. So one side, he was trying to express that he's committed sin, but now that he wants to go to forest, other family members, they could not imagine anyone else to become king, because he was such a brilliant king and well-wisher of everyone. There was no question. It was not that the Yudhishthira Maharaj is going to forest and the next brother Bhima gets ready and say, okay, yeah, I can take it. Like this is what exactly happened in Dhritarashtra case. When Pandu was, went to forest, he was always waiting to become the king, Dhritarashtra. And even though Yudhishthira Maharaj was so much capable, Dhritarashtra didn't want Yudhishthira to become the king. He wanted his own son to become the king. So, but the Pandavas were, were very great devotees of the Lord. And this is what the reason is, that Lord chooses Pandavas over the Kauravas, or the son of Dhritarashtra. There's a reason why Lord is choosing this, because in one sense it is also mentioned Prabhupada also says it's not that the Duryodhana did not know how to rule. He did not know how to look after his citizens. He knew all that. He knew, he was very smart politically. He knew all the maneuvers and manipulations of people and this and that, how to keep everyone happy and then, just enjoy his kingdom. But he was not selfless. The Lord is looking at the quality of the selflessness, the service mood unto the whole world. So this was the Pandavas. They were not greedy. They were always in the service mode. That's why they were so dear to the Lord. So that was the reason that Lord wanted Yudhishthira to become king. So that was the point. So these leaders were not ordinary. And also I was saying before, the responsibility that it is also another pastime. As we go ahead, we discussed this before about Jai Vijay. So when the 4 Kumaras were stopped at the 7th gate in the Vaikuntha by Jai Vijay, the Kumaras got really annoyed with the behavior of Jai Vijay and they cursed him. But Lord comes and he was actually taking the responsibility because he's saying that they are my servants and I'm responsible for them. So even every example that we see, many places, Ramayana also, many places, that Lord Rama also takes responsibility for everything. And the kings, the leaders are supposed to take responsibility, responsible for the welfare of their dependents. So all leaders are supposed to be looking after their dependents. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is in that mood of, that kindness, that sadness that he could not do that, although what was happened was the will of the Lord. But again, he's reflecting his mood of taking responsibility for what has gone wrong or what has actually or created difficulty for these people who are dependent. But we also know the other side of it, that this is all, as we were discussing pretty much in every verse, the Lord Krishna's plan as to, he wanted that credit to go to Bhishma, who could only convince Yudhishthira Maharaj. And there was actually a very special relationship between Yudhishthira and Bhishma. Bhishma always saw Yudhishthira as the most appropriate king. Bhishma was actually, his responsibility was he took a vow to look after the throne. He would never become the king, but he would always look after the throne. So when Yudhishthira was not the king, but Bhishma was actually dedicated to the throne, his heart was always at the Pandavas. He always loved the Pandavas because Pandavas were so pious, so religious, so dedicated to the Lord. He always wanted Yudhishthira to be the king. And Lord Krishna, he's sitting in everyone's heart. He understands, everyone's devotion. He wants to accept. He appreciates his devotees so much that he wanted Yudhishthira to be only convinced by Bhishma. In that sense, in that bewilderment of Yudhishthira, what will come out is the Bhishma's detailed explanation of Dharma Shastra, how to rule the earth, how to look after citizens, politics, everything he gives to Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira's relationship, I was saying, it was so special with Bhishma. Ever since he was young, Bhishma was always looking Yudhishthira as the king. And Yudhishthira Maharaj had so many good qualities. And Yudhishthira Maharaj was always so attached to Bhishma. He would see his role model, his father figure in Bhishma. Because Bhishma was so pious, so religious, such a great devotee of the Lord. Yudhishthira would see that. And when there was that relationship between two of them, that Yudhishthira would always look forward to Bhishma for any guidance, any situation he would always look forward to Bhishma. That was such a lovely relationship. That that father figure that Bhishma was. They also, this, in our lives also, we would have someone. It's good to have someone as our role model, and who we can trust, and we can go to, and we can seek advice in a difficult time. And we have the relationship, it always helps. We always cannot guarantee that the things will go normal good. There will be difficulties for everyone, but that difficulty can only be overcome by the help of devotees, great souls, of role models who we can take shelter and we can seek guidance from. So this will continue. I think the theme will continue for some more verses. So we can stop here for today, and maybe hear anyone's realizations, questions, or any point of discussion. So what we really, just to recap, just to bring, I think probably sometimes speak quite a wide. So we spoke about how Yudhishthira Maharaj was taking the responsibility as a king. He's a pious king. He's a Raj Rishi. Feels for other people's pain. He's Paradukha Dukhi, means he's sad in other people's sadness. And also the quality of Vaishnava is never envious. So he's always happy in other people's success. Actually, it's another interesting point I will say, and we can finish. Is the of all the anarthas, Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara, all the 6 anarthas, only one anartha which cannot be utilized in the service of the Lord is this envy. But that's not topic for today. It just occurred to me. Yeah, so so that was Yudhishthira Maharaj's responsibility, and all of us, how we also have to imbibe this mode of devotees. Mahajana Yena Gata Sapantha. We learn. So everything that's mentioned in Bhagavatam is for our own purification, our development. So we can learn from this mood of Yudhishthira Maharaj that how sensitive we have to be towards our dependents. This is what is the mood being shown here by Yudhishthira Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Okay. Any comments, Shailesh Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, and pronouns of Prabhu. Thank you very much for a wonderful class. Prabhu, I want to bring up something slightly unrelated, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
I've already, I know this might not be the forum, but I've already brought this issue up with Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu, and I think it's either not being looked at or addressed. The Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses, Prabhu. We're doing one verse a day. It's going to take 50 years to do this at the rate we're going. We have to have a slightly smarter way of getting through this, because none of us in the group, at least I'm speaking for myself and my wife, are going to see much past Canto 3 at this rate before we've kicked the bucket. 50 years is a long time for anybody to wait. I think we have to have a slightly smarter and a more efficient way of getting through the Bhagavatam, because I'm sure most devotees on the group would like to have got through it in the next 5 or 6 years, I would think. This is my 3rd, 4th reading, so I'm delighted to go through it, but the rate we're going, it's going to take far too long, Prabhu.
Actually, I totally agree with you, Prabhu, because if we have to do that, we should probably, we can pick up a theme and we can discuss with Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu and see what he thinks.
I brought this up almost a year, 18 months ago when we started. They were saying, we will get it done in 5 years. I said, there's no way. 18,000 divided by 365 is straight maths. It's going to take 50 years plus.
Absolutely. I know, because when we started in Chowpatty, 1994, and we finished in 2020, 2019 or something. As you said, it takes 30 years really to finish, if you go verse by verse. So yeah, I mean, this is another idea that, like for example, these verses are 6 verses are in similar theme. One of the idea could be that we could, pick up a group of verses and possibly do that way. That's also an idea. Yes, absolutely. We should discuss this, and I will also discuss.
If you can please bring it up. I've tried, but I think unless other devotees try, maybe I'm a black sheep in the crowd, and maybe my ideas are not something anybody wants to hear. But I'm sure other devotees, if they wish to try and get through the Bhagavatam, then we've got to do something about how we approach this. I mean, we've spent a year and we've only got to chapter 8 so far. And I think because I think we have different speakers every night, we have quite a lot of overlap and a lot of repetition as well. And I think, I'm just my thoughts. I'm sure other people have other thoughts, but I think that we need to do something a little more urgently about this, because it's just, we're not going to get through it otherwise.
No, it's a really valid point. So thank you.
I agree with you, Prabhu, 100%. Yes, it should be done like that. Yeah.
So, yes, we should pick up with the Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu, to raising this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kantamani, for supporting that. That's good. The more devotees feel like that, then we can take that feedback and get
very good idea. Yeah.
In one of the Bhagavatam group that I was seeing, that they do chapter a week, and it goes very well as well. It's fast, but it's very good,
Yeah, there's so many ways of doing it. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very nice class this evening, Prabhuji. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And I agree with Sailash Prabhu. It's a good idea. We should review the way we conduct the class. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Everyone have a great, blissful, Krishna conscious weekend. And we shall speak again. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
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 Shri Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.